For conservative Britons, it was the First World War that became an example of national valor, heroism and patriotic sentiments. It was in those years that the country, which has been fighting for almost its entire history, first introduced universal conscription and mobilization of the population for military enterprises. Therefore, almost every Briton can tell about the fate of their ancestors caught up in the war. Many Englishmen still watch films with a historical bias not as entertainment, but as a tribute to memory. Sam Mendes' film, which made a lot of noise even before its premiere, turned out to be very expensive to produce. But why did this happen? Because the stars of world magnitude appeared in the frame only for a few minutes. The thing is that Mendes initially decided to make the picture in such a way that the viewer had the feeling that all this was being filmed in one take. The film 1917 is actually the story of grandfather Sam Mendes, who was a frontline signalman in Flanders in the same year, which hit the big screens. The main roles were taken by actors who have not yet achieved world recognition, but have already declared themselves in early projects. Dean Charles Chapman, who played Tom Blake, began his career as a child, acting in episodic roles, but a wide audience could remember only after Game of Thrones. George Mackay has previously appeared in more than 10 films, having managed to receive the BAFTA Scotland 2013 award for Best Actor. The most famous movies in his career are The Boys Are Coming Back, As I Love It Now, Captain Fantastic and the miniseries 11/22/63. More famous actors got only episodic roles of senior officers. So, Colin Firth in the image of General Aaronmore entrusts the main characters with their dangerous task. Colonel Mackenzie, in turn, is played by Benedict Cumberbatch. Additionally, Andrew Scott and Mark Strong can be mentioned. The idea of shooting in the places where these battles took place, in fact, had to be quickly abandoned, since all the trenches in the cinema were really dug. It is simply dangerous to carry out such work in France. The chance of finding an unexploded shell from a century ago in the ground is too great. The moral side of the issue is also important. You can accidentally dig up not only equipment and ammunition, but also human remains. The entire film was shot in the UK. The main location was Bomington Airfield, located in England. It was here that the workers dug more than 1,500 meters of trenches, having equipped them according to all the canons of fortification at the beginning of the last century. All the filming here had to be coordinated with the military, as there was a radar station of modern British soldiers nearby. Additional places where 1917 were filmed were Northumberland, the suburbs of Glasgow in Scotland and the Salisbury Plain near Stonehenge. The River Tees was also noted, where the film crew even needed to put up numerous warning signs explaining to tourists that the dead bodies they met were just mannequins. Like location specialists who haven't slept well for months, set designer Lee Sandalis and his team have mined almost all the props you'll see in the film. And this, it should be noted, is a very serious job, because director Sam Mendes was tasked with creating the most realistic atmosphere. Many of the items were made specifically for the film, for example, German machine guns that were installed in the quarry. 6,000 shell casings for props and all defensive barriers were also made, which were then wrapped with barbed wire. In order to dig and strengthen trenches on the front line, the workshop of decorative and technical structures studied a lot of materials and found mention of many trenches of the Allied troops, during the construction of which various techniques were used. The trenches dug on the front line were almost identical in width to those in which soldiers fought during the First World War. So there were no problems with observing the details. Trenches were dug along the front line, directly behind which lies the neutral strip, and all this was to be shown to the viewer as a single decoration, so imagine what area was required to create all this. Roger Dickens, who had previously worked in duet with Mendes in his films Marines, 007 Coordinate Skyfall and 007 Spectrum, was responsible for all the camera work. One of the scenes in the latter was shot in a single plan for 8 minutes. Now Sam Mendes went further and offered to shoot almost the whole picture in this manner. In the whole movie there is only one obvious assembly gluing and a few more completely invisible to the viewer. So we can confidently say that almost the entire film 1917 was shot in one frame. This approach required serious work on the part of the entire team, decorators, actors, cameramen and illuminators. A lot also depended on the weather. Often the shooting days had to be replaced with rehearsals because of the too cloudless sky. Fortunately, the climate of England, with its superiority of cloudy days a year, turned out to be as convenient as possible in order to shoot the film 1917 in such a manner, in one frame. To create a sense of presence, when the audience seems to be with the main characters side by side, we had to create a lighter and more mobile camera. Just imagine, the heroes are followed by the cameraman and two of his assistants who are holding the camera. Then the devices are placed on a special crane located nearby or mounted on a car. If the camera was heavier, then it would be simply impossible to carry it on your hands, and even more so to move it quickly in space, to put it on a crane. Moreover, everything had to be done to the nearest second. If someone hesitated in the process, they had to shoot again, and then again and again, but in the case of 1917, there was simply no such opportunity. For example, in an episode where the main character runs across the field among attacking soldiers, and the ground explodes behind him and in front of him, pyrotechnics reserves would be enough for only 3 or 4 attempts. And so it is in everything. Even before all the sets were created, the preparation for filming required a long time of rehearsals. According to the recognition of the performers of the main roles of George Mackay and Dean Charles Chapman, they had to rehearse a lot for 4 months. How did the rehearsals help? First of all, to hone to the smallest detail all the actions that the actors had to perform. As a result, when the motor command sounded on the set, what was happening could easily be compared to a dance in which, in addition to the actors, the entire film crew was spinning. Filmed in natural light. This restriction immediately imposed a number of restrictions on production. For example, if a scene was shot in cloudy weather, then it was necessary to continue shooting it in the same weather. If the sun began to shine on the set, filming was interrupted, and instead the 1917 team, led by Sam Mendes, began rehearsing again. When the hero runs among the ruins, hiding from the Germans firing flares into the sky, the light constantly changes location. Shadows change accordingly. The group had to calculate in advance how many seconds the rocket would burn, how the ruins would refract shadows and how shadows would pass through the windows of destroyed buildings. For this purpose, a special layout was created, which allowed mathematically calculating all the necessary parameters. So the director and the cameraman found out what they had to do on the set. In order for the characters to move imperceptibly from one episode to another, Mendes used a variety of inconspicuous techniques. This could be achieved in different ways. When a character walks through a doorway or suddenly appears from behind curtains when he enters the bunker, when his silhouette is reflected. Sometimes body movements, moving an element or prop to the foreground, or even using panoramic photography help. Thanks to all of the above, you believe in what is happening, as if a frontline operator was really running everywhere for the main characters. It's hard to say how long the film 1917 was shot. It took about 7 months to shoot, but the group's schedule was abnormal. Then the whole days are simple, then work on the site from dawn until night. Based on all that has been said, you can understand how much work and time has been invested in this picture. For the first time the picture was shown in December 2000 of the 19th year. $100 million were spent on the film, the fees in the United States amounted to $159 million, and in the rest of the world $225. The total amount of fees amounted to $384 million. The technical side of the movie impressed both critics and viewers. The film received no less laudatory reviews because of the realism of the fighting, which fully reflects the essence of the First World War. Thousands of senseless deaths in the labyrinths of endless trenches. At the Oscar ceremony, the film won in the categories Best Cinematography, Best Sound and Best Visual Effects. BAFTA gave 1917 7 out of 9 awards. The picture earned the Golden Globe as the best film, and Sam Mendes received the statuette of the Best Director. Many awards were received for the work of cameramen and editors. The world community went crazy after learning that the film 1917 was shot in one frame. And that's it for me. If you liked my video, don't forget to like it and write any comment. Also, subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click on the bell to be the first to watch new videos. And of course, fly into the playlist about how to make a movie, everyone will find something interesting there. See you all soon.